Hello, this is Everton fan 77 with another episode of Football Talk. Now, my voice might sound a bit different today, and that is because I'm trying out a new mic. And yeah, if you like the sound of the mic, leave it in the comment section, and if you prefer my old mic, leave that in the comment section below. I just want to get a feel of a new mic, and also get the best quality sound for you. This mic doesn't have quite the extensive actual microphone. It's more of a gaming headset. But it's pretty good quality, especially for the audio and stuff. So moving on to the point of the video, at the end of last episode, with Jared HD, my special guest in the last episode, we talked about the 2012 top moments, and at the end of that, we put out the question: what were your favorite? What are you expecting in the 2014 World Cup? Which players will perform? Which players will flop? Which teams will perform? Who will go on to win the whole competition? Which teams will surprise? Basically, whatever. And I got some very interesting responses. So we'll get to the first one here. It is from Amari484. He says, it's not the best English here, but it'll do. I think Neymar, Oscar, Messi, and Cristiano Ronaldo will do good in the World Cup. And going to the first player he mentions here, Neymar. I admire him so much. He scored some fantastic goals. He's a great player, but I wouldn't put him right up with the elites, with the likes of Messi and Ronaldo, until he proves himself in Europe. And it is quite a bold statement, but I want to really see him perform in Europe. Robinho had a similar path, starting off. I think it was Santos where he started off. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. And he moved to Real Madrid, and he absolutely flopped there. And I really hope Neymar doesn't do that. He's a fantastic player. He's proven himself on the international stage, but I'm not quite so sure about him until he moves to Europe. But he's doing fantastically in Brazil, and I'm glad he hasn't moved at the age of 17 or something, a very young age. I'm glad he hasn't moved across to Europe at that age, because he needs to develop a bit more in Brazil, I feel. But moving on to the next one, it is about Oscar. I love Oscar, quality player. I honestly doubted him when he first moved. I didn't think he'd be worth 25 million or whatever he was from his big money move from Brazil to Chelsea. But he's proven himself at Chelsea, playing fantastically. I think he'll perform excellently at the World Cup. But he just needs to fight off a few other players for a starting place, like Lucas and a few others. There's a few more senior players as well, like Kaká, if he can perform and perhaps carry himself to the 2014 World Cup. It's looking unlikely, but if Kaká can make it, there will definitely be some competition. Next to Messi and Ronaldo, everyone knows what they can do. If they can just keep up their performances, carrying it on to the 2014 World Cup, it will be fantastic. Sorry, just had to change my mic a bit there. But yeah, it'll be fantastic if they can. But the thing is, Messi and Ronaldo, they don't have the best track records at the World Cup. Obviously, Ronaldo, in the 2006 World Cup, that's kind of where the world found out about Cristiano Ronaldo and his talent. But Messi hasn't really performed in the World Cup. He only has one World Cup goal, I think, and Ronaldo only did score one World Cup goal in the last. Well, didn't word that very well. He only scored one goal in the last World Cup, and that was in the thrashing of Korea. So they really need to prove themselves on the World Cup stage, which they haven't really done. Ronaldo more so than Messi, as I mentioned before. But I feel Messi can do it. His performances for Argentina are getting better and better, and his free kicks as well. That can just provide a massive threat for Argentina. Yeah, so that's basically kind of that comment done. I'll move on to the next one. It is from FIFA007, making his another appearance in Football Talk. I just honestly can't find my words today. Haven't uploaded in quite a few days, which I'm sorry. I just want to get some get everyone's comments in, but I'm just so tired, and this video is kind of don't know the word to describe it, but I'm definitely not commentating at my best, so I just want to put that out there. So moving on to FIFA007, the James Bond of EA, making another appearance on Football Talk, as I mentioned a few seconds ago. But he says there are definitely some rapidly developing teams out there which could surprise a few, like Belgium, Mexico, Colombia, Chile, and even Senegal. But I have no doubt it will be Spain against Brazil, Argentina, or Italy in the final. I think that means Spain's definitely there, and it will be against either Brazil, Argentina, or Italy. It's kind of what he said there, but anyway, just clarifying that. And he says Spain's passing play won't catch us too many eyes, so I think the standout players will be Neymar, Wilshere, Eriksen, Ibrahimovic if Sweden make it, and Falcao. That's a very fair comment. I definitely think the rapidly developing teams, Belgium, everyone knows about. They've got some fantastic players like Eden Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, Company, Vermaelen. There's so many good players there. Fellaini, Axel Witsel. The list just goes on. Mexico, I think it's kind of a hard one. They're actually pretty consistent. They obviously won the Olympics. They've got quite a young squad. Some fantastic players like Hernandez and Dos Santos. Just some great players there. Colombia, yeah, they obviously they have Falcao, who's one of the best strikers in the world. Like it'd be probably the best target man in the world at the moment. So for Colombia, that's massive. Basically, he's just the key to Colombia there. They do have some other good players like Rodriguez and stuff developing there. Chile have Sanchez and Vidal, and they also got some other good players amongst the team. And Senegal, and yeah, I actually really think they could surprise a few if they qualify. They obviously have to contend for Africa's top spot. They've got to contend with the Ivory Coast and Ghana, which are two massive African superpowers. Then there's also Nigeria and South Africa as well. So Senegal, they obviously have Demba Ba, Papis Cisse, Armand Traore, a lot more players which I haven't mentioned, but yeah, Senegal could surprise a few. But Spain, yeah, if the way Spain are going, they'll definitely qualify for another World Cup final. It's just they need to keep hold of the players they have, like Xavi and Iniesta. Hopefully they can maintain their good performances and just keep their passing play going, as he goes on to mention. But I honestly think Brazil will be in the final against Spain. They will. I think they're. Keep stuttering here, but I think they owe the fans a World Cup final. Pretty much for Brazil, if they don't make the World Cup final, it's a failure. They have such high standards, and I'm not just saying they'll make it because they haven't made it the last few times, but they're the host nation. They've got some fantastic young players at the moment. There is another comment which we'll talk about Brazil, and Argentina. Not quite so sure. Their defense is quite. They do have Colaccini and Mascherano, but their defense is nowhere near as good as the attack. And I don't think I don't think for a while they'll make a World Cup final. They're just not quite there yet. But moving on to Italy, and yes, they have some very good performances up their sleeve. It's probably not a great saying, but yeah, if they're on their day, they can play, especially like any team. But Italy more so than most. Obviously, they flopped at the Euros, at the finals of the Euros. But they can contend with Spain in the group stages. They drew, I'm pretty sure, and they've got some fantastic young players as well, like Balotelli, El Shaarawy, more people like that. And yeah, it should be interesting to see how Italy go. And Spain's passing play won't catch too many eyes. So yeah, I don't think there'll be any standout players from Spain, like David Villa was in the 2010 World Cup. And standout players, Neymar, we talked about earlier. Jack Wilshere, I don't think he'll have the time to shine because I think England will get knocked out in the second round quarterfinals on penalty shootout. There's another comment that mentions that, but I really do think they'll go out on a penalty shootout in true England fashion. Christian Eriksen, fantastic player. Denmark obviously will have to qualify, but Christian Eriksen, fantastic player. Been performing great for Ajax, and yeah, I really want to see him perform well. Ibrahimovic, he could be a bit old by the time the 2014 World Cup comes around, but it's Ibrahimovic. Everyone knows what he can do. And Falcao, we talked a bit about earlier, best target man in the world, or arguably the best target man in the world. And I think he'll perform well if he can maintain his performances. Next one is from a good friend of mine, TWK10000, a good commentator for FIFA videos. If you want to check him out, he'll be in the link in the description below. But he says, I do believe a possible underdog could show in the form of Belgium. Though their side isn't the most experienced, the likes of Hazard, Morales, and Lukaku do show hints of become greats of the game. Yeah, good English, TWK10000, good English. But their form is growing over time, and I believe that they will peak in the World Cup for Belgium. And he's talking about Belgium there. I kind of touched base on this a bit earlier, but I'll get more into depth with them this time. Obviously, Belgium have some fantastic players. I forgot to mention Morales before in the list I was talking about, but I do think they can perform well. Basically the thing is, with a young squad, consistency is very hard to develop, and it'll be interesting to see if they can perform. Obviously, for a World Cup, you don't need too much consistency, but definitely to qualify. The European game is very hard to qualify, and if Belgium do make it, I think they'll go on to great things. They've got some fantastic players. They obviously could get drawn a rough group as well. That can happen. If you remember in the 2010 World Cup, Ivory Coast got drawn with Portugal and Brazil and also North Korea, but that didn't really concern them too much. But yeah, they could get a rough group because they're not quite in the top 10 teams at the moment, but they're just sitting outside that, like the Ivory Coast were in the last World Cup. So hopefully they don't get a rough group, because I really do want to see them progress well. So yeah, the likes of Hazard, Morelos, and Lukaku, great young players there, all playing well in the Premier League at the moment. So moving on to the final comment from Milton Garcia, making another appearance on Football Talk. This is probably my favourite comment of them all. He talks about a few teams here. The Netherlands will either crash out in the group stage or win the comp. They're unpredictable, but they have some aging players who might not be up to the challenge. Brazil have to be favourites as well as being hosts. They have some great young players like Neymar, Lucas, Oscar, Felipe Coutinho, and Lucas Piazon. England will look good in the group stages and then crash out in the second round or quarterfinals on penalties. It will be a Spain vs Brazil final. That's pretty much how I view what's going to happen in the World Cup in one. I do think Spain and Brazil will play in the final. It'll make a great final with the passing play of Spain, which has kind of been adopted from Barcelona and Johan Cruyff introducing it there. And then there's Brazil with all the flair they have. I just think it'd make a great final. But moving on to the start of the comment, Netherlands will crash out in the group stages or win the comp. Very inconsistent. They made the final of the 2010 World Cup. Wesley Sneijder was fantastic in that. And basically in the Euros, I thought they were going to win. I was quite confident with them, and everybody knows how they went in the Euros, crashing out in the group stage. And basically, Van der Vaart and Van Persie, the only people scoring goals. So, yeah, not very good for Netherlands, but it will depend on whether they can get past the group stage. It's quite inconsistent, I must say. But also what he talks about here, you've got Arjen Robben, Wesley Sneijder, Van Persie, Dirk Kuyt, Kout Kuyt, however you like to say it, Van der Vaart, I might have mentioned him before, and a few other players, Johnny Heitinga, who are aging, and by the time the World Cup comes around, they'll be quite old, and yeah, but they do have some good young players amongst the ranks as well, so it'll be interesting to see how Netherlands go. I'm looking forward to watching them. Brazil have to be favourites, as I believe Brazil should win the comp as well, as I mentioned before. Neymar, Lucas, Oscar, Felipe Coutinho, and Lucas Piazon, great young players, but they need to keep some experienced players who have had some World Cup experience before. I think Kaká, I mentioned before, I didn't mention this before, but Kaká is one of my favourite players. He's fantastic to watch, plays very attractive football, but I think he's one of the keys. I really hope Mourinho starts playing him more often at Real Madrid, because I do think they need some experienced players. Kaká obviously didn't have a great World Cup, the last one, got sent off for a ridiculous call for the challenge on the Ivory Coast. I forget who it was, but it was an Ivory Coast player. The elbow, which hardly went into him, and the ref sent him off. I was just disgusted with that call. But yeah, some more experienced players as well. Ronaldinho perhaps might be a bit old, but who wouldn't want to see Ronaldinho play at the World Cup? And they have some experienced defenders like Thiago Silva. So, also they've got some pace amongst the backline as well. Everyone knows the sweaty backs from FIFA. You know, Thiago Silva, Dede, David Luiz, Felipe Santana. And they also have some good wing backs like Michael and Marcelo and a few others, Dani Alves as well. So, be interesting to see how they go. You need to keep some experience amongst the squad as well. England, I talked about this earlier on, they will look good in the group stages and then crash out in the second round or quarterfinals on penalties. That's basically what their Euros was like, but going off the last World Cup, they were pretty awful in the group stages. I remember watching the England game because I have English heritage, and England's my, I go for England and Australia in the World Cup, so I was up bright early to watch the England game. Rob Green's mistake, everyone knows about that, but really it was quite hard to watch. There was some individual magic early on from Steven Gerrard, but then going on to the games against Slovenia and who was the other team they played? Algeria. Oh, that Algeria game was so awful to watch. But yeah, I think they will look good in the group stages. They do have the likes of Jack Wilshere, Tom Cleverley. Jack Rodwell is not performing well at Man City. I think it was a big mistake for him to move to Man City. Obviously, being an Everton fan, it will sound a bit biased, but I think the public's kind of being a bit harsh on Jack Rodwell. He's made some pretty bad mistakes for Man City, like some bad passes which have been intercepted and have been scored like off the counter attack. But I think he might be able to help out. But and they have Danny Welbeck, and if Wayne Rooney can maintain his performances, he will be there as well. But yeah, Danny Welbeck, and in the backs, it's quite experienced. They've got the likes of Jolyon Lescott. John Terry's retired from international football. Jolyon Lescott, Phil Jagielka, Gary Cahill, Ashley Cole, but he might be a bit old for the World Cup. And Glenn Johnson will be very old for the World Cup as well. They've got Kyle Walker as well. But yeah, that should be interesting. Oxlade-Chamberlain, how could I forget him? And yeah, I will think they'll crash out on penalties as well. Yeah, and Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard. Maybe they might make the World Cup, but Lamps is looking. It's not looking very good for Lamps. He's in some good form at the moment, but Abramovich with the contract thingo, it's just ridiculous. I think not signing your old players, especially Ashley Cole as well. He's without a club, but I really hope Stevie G can make it. One of my favourite players, even though I'm an Everton fan. Stevie G, fantastic player. I hope he can maintain his performances. I keep saying that, but yeah, hope he can keep up his quality and yeah, basically not deteriorate through old age. Well, old age, semi-old age. But moving on, Spain vs Brazil final. That's how I see it, as I mentioned earlier on. So this has been Everton Fans 77 with the next episode of. Not the next episode, with the current episode of Football Talk. I honestly can't find my words today, but I just really wanted to upload for you guys because it's been quite a while without an upload. So for the next episode, it will be about the current transfers that are going on. Who do you think will flop? Who's like transferred? We've obviously seen a few transfers so far, and the likes of Sturridge scoring on his first game for Liverpool, Demba Ba backing a brace in the FA Cup on his debut, Joe Cole getting an assist in that FA Cup match. So yeah, what do you think of the current transfers? Who will flop? Who will perform? And like, what will it be like for the players? Will it be beneficial for them or not? So yeah, this has been Everton Fans 77 with another episode of Football Talk, and yeah, see ya.